Imagine if you could access all your files, photos, and software from any device anywhere in the world without needing to carry around a bulky hardware or worry about losing data. Well, that's essentially what cloud computing offers. It's like having a virtual storage space and computer all rolled into one. And thanks to emerging trends like edge computing, artificial intelligence, and the likes, cloud computing has now evolved into a dynamic platform with advanced computational capabilities. Adoran Wodu, the founder of Nexaskill, who is also a software engineer working at the intersection of cloud engineering and developer platforms, tells more about cloud computing. Adora, break it down for us. What is cloud computing all about?
Cloud computing, I think I'm just going to try and explain this in the most basic way possible, right? You think about it like this. The cloud is a network of computers that someone can access over the internet. Now, those computers are like actual compute infrastructure when you think of storing data, when you think of computation power, like maybe if you are a gamer and you want to do some complex computation, on these computers, that's then you have to do it on the infrastructure. Then there's like the platform level, which is supposed to be an abstraction over the infrastructure, right? Where you can also do things like automate the delivery of these infrastructures if you need them. For example, I need to have virtual computers. I'm trying to use the most basic words possible. I need to have virtual computers to do certain things, and I want to get computing from these cloud providers and use them. And I can get like a platform for that. And then software as a service is the one where everybody can use. It's pretty much like just going online and using the software. Examples are like maybe your Notion, your Microsoft Office that you use on the cloud, your Google Meet, for example, when you're doing all of this, like, video conferencing, conversations and things like that. So the cloud isn't just for storage. Many people use the cloud to store their information, so that it can persist and they don't have to lose the information and they can access it across different devices. But you can use the cloud for other things as well.
Okay, Adora, you tried your best to explain that in the most basic form. But as someone who's you're a software engineer that's had experience working in that sector, and you've likely witnessed firsthand the rapid evolution of cloud computing. What are some of the most exciting advancements you've seen recently?
I think for me, one of the most exciting advancements I've seen is computing on the edge, not necessarily the cloud. I mean, like, the cloud is great. There's like, different data centers across different parts of the world. But edge computing is more around bringing those data centers close to you to reduce, latency so that computation is done faster. And since now we're about to start, in the context of technology, we're about to start doing things that have like um, very high computation, processing like large amounts of data or large amounts of information, and we need those things to like be done relatively quickly. So doing things on the edge, or rather edge computing, is still like, when you think of I don't want to call it remote computing, but let's call it that. When you think of like, computing over the internet, right? And I think that now there's like, companies springing up and trying to position themselves as computing on the edge and providing solutions for edge computing. But I also see like these big cloud providers also shifting towards building, allowing people to build things on the edge, faster things, as people are talking about, oh, okay, there's this whole AI revolution going on, or the whole thing about Internet of Things, or the metaverse for the people that are still building in that space, right? And these are things that have like, high data being transmitted across, from point A to point B. And you also want to make sure that regardless of the fact that you are transporting a lot of data and you're doing a lot of heavy computing, it's done as quickly as possible and with like the lowest latency possible. And this is where like edge computing comes in. So I think that that's like the next level things in terms of doing remote computing on the internet that would be very interesting to see, especially because of all these innovations happening around us.
Talking about innovation, you've mentioned artificial intelligence. There's, of course, machine learning and edge computing, like you also mentioned. These are, buzzwords in the tech world, which are also being integrated with cloud computing. What would be the outcome of this fusion on cloud-based solutions?
I think that the cloud is going to play a huge role in a bunch of things. I mean, like AI is great. If you build a fantastic tool, if you've not made that tool into a platform where different people now have access to it and can use it regardless of wherever they are in different parts of the world, then have you really started building your business, right? So there's still that intersection of the cloud playing a key role in terms of making these technologies globally available, deployable to people in different parts of the world. Also, one thing I really like the cloud for is the scalability that the cloud offers. So in times when there's like a lot of things that you're doing, depending on how you have like your cloud setup and things like that, you can scale your cloud resources to be able to take on the current load that you have at that particular time. Maybe I've heard that the time of the year that telephones are used the most is Mother's Day. I actually thought it was Christmas until recently when I found out that it was Mother's Day. So imagine like on a day like Mother's Day, and you have to scale up resources because there's a lot of people using maybe your platform for calls, as well as maybe if you have like an AI platform, people are using that AI platform to make cards, virtual cards for their moms and things like that. You can scale out your, infrastructure on that day to be able to take on all of that load. But like, I mean, for the rest of the year, when you don't have as much load, you can now like scale back down. So the auto scaling that sort of like, helps with the scalability and availability is one thing that I really like the cloud for. And I think that as we do more interesting things and sort of like, build interesting things on the cloud as well, we'll be able to leverage these advantages or these benefits that the cloud offers to be able to give different people all around the world that are supposed to be using these softwares good experiences.
Well, Adara, we've spoken about, you just spoke about the advantages of the cloud, right? Now, let's talk about some of the challenges of cloud computing. And I'm sure experts say that there's always a risk while storing your data on the cloud. But apart from, that security concern, what are some of the other, biggest challenges you've encountered?
Honestly, I mean, like security is a very big one. And that's because everyone just assumes all the time that security is supposed to be for the cloud provider alone. But like, I think we need to get to a point where we teach people that security is everybody's problem, right?
Mhm.
Security is important and everyone should make it, a key thing that they take on. So meaning that no matter how secure and no matter how many measures the cloud providers have put in place, if you as somebody building on top of those resources don't secure your application, then your customers are at risk when they use your software because there are things that you should actually do on your own. For example, if maybe you use something in the cloud, maybe like a secret manager, and the cloud provider gives you the secret, but when it's time for you to use that secret, instead of encrypting it or referencing it directly from the cloud provider, you put it in your application as plain text. Now everybody can see it. They will hack into that system, right? And at that point, it's no longer, the fault of the cloud provider. It's about you for not using the correct um tools that you should have used to make sure that you were secure and compliant with whatever it is that you were building. Another thing is finances. One benefit about the cloud is that it's like affordable, right? But that could also be a drawback because the cloud has so many sides to it. So if you don't actually sort of like integrate FinOps and just sort of understand the kinds of applications that you are building, right? And the kinds of services on the cloud that you should use for those applications, you'd find that you are spending a lot more than you should be spending. And I've seen people that, I've heard about people that, monthly they are spending like 50 something $1,000 on the cloud. And I'm like, how much is your business making, first of all, that you are throwing this amount of money into cloud computing, right? It's very important for people to have ways where they can sort of like monitor their cloud spend and just see if even the ways that they are doing their deployments or the things that they are hosting their applications on are things that they should be using in the first place, right? Because this really is like one of the issues.
Well, thank you so much, Adora Umwodo, founder of Nexus Skill. And of course, I think it's also, nice for me to mention that you're also a first-class computer science graduate from the University of Lagos. And you are, one of the few females working in the cloud computing sector. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us on Tech Trends.
Thank you.